A galactic monarch attempted to assassinate a female diplomat, not realizing she was the Baba Yaga. Grand Admiral Casthraxis of the Morgarian Empire observed the human vessel's approach from the viewport of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion Asterisk. He felt a combination of revulsion and expectancy. The small ship, minuscule against the backdrop of space, represented a feeble diplomatic effort from a species that had only recently achieved faster-than-light travel. So this is the renowned human diplomat they've dispatched? Cathraxis's four nostrils flared, expressing his amusement. A lone female from a remote planet. King Vex Maul will be greatly displeased. His second-in-command, Commander Jalorax, nervously adjusted her ceremonial armor. Sir, I've examined the intelligence concerning the human. Her name is Eleanor Petrov. She's facilitated 17 successful peace negotiations across 3 star systems. 17? How quaint. Casthraxis displayed his sharp teeth, a gesture resembling a smile among his kind. We've subjugated 17 star systems in the last solar cycle alone. Commander Jalorax hesitated. There are whispers, sir. Whispers? Do elaborate, Commander. I could use some amusement before this tiresome encounter. Some refer to her as the Witch of the Stars. Others claim she's never lost a negotiation, and those who resisted her met unfortunate fates. Casthraxis emitted a booming laugh that resonated across the command deck. Superstitious drivel. You've been indulging in too many human folktales, Commander. Yes, Admiral. Jalorax bowed, her secondary eyes blinking in submission. The communication panel beeped, displaying the holographic image of a striking, older human woman. Her silver-streaked dark hair was pulled back tightly. Her deep-set eyes seemed to pierce the screen, and her prominent cheekbones gave her a somewhat predatory look. Grand Admiral Casthraxis, I presume. Her voice was surprisingly low and carried a subtle accent that the translation software couldn't fully eliminate. I am Eleanor Petrov, representing the United Earth Federation. Thank you for agreeing to escort me to your king. Casthraxis straightened to his full 3-meter height. Human diplomat Petrov, your vessel has clearance to dock in Bay 12. Security procedures require you to be scanned and your belongings inspected before you are granted an audience with our magnificent King Vex Maul. Eleanor's lips formed a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Naturally, Admiral, I expected as much. Though I should inform you, some of my personal items are rather unique. Diplomatic artifacts from various worlds. Our security team will decide what is suitable for you to keep, Casthraxis responded dismissively. Dock your vessel and prepare to board. The hologram vanished, and Casthraxis turned to Jalorax. Prepare the security team and inform King Vex that the human is arriving. Sir, shouldn't we adhere to the diplomatic protocols? The human is under the protection accords of the Galactic Alliance. Casthraxis waved a clawed hand dismissively. The accords are for species deserving of respect, Commander. These humans believe they can negotiate terms after we've already seized their outer colonies. King Vex Maul has particular plans for this diplomat, plans that will convey a very explicit message to Earth. But sir, if we breach the accords will be meaningless once we control Earth's resources. Now, execute your orders, Commander. An hour later, Eleanor Petrov stood calmly in the security scanning chamber. Her simple gray suit made her appear more like an accountant than a diplomat. The only distinguishing feature was an unusual pendant, a simple wooden design that seemed incongruous with her otherwise professional appearance. Please remove all jewelry and place it in the scanning tray, ordered the security chief, a robust Morgarian with battle scars across his scaled hide. Eleanor reached for the pendant, then hesitated. This is a cultural artifact of considerable significance. I would prefer to keep it with me. Remove it, human, or we will remove it for you, the security chief growled. With a sigh, Eleanor unclasped the pendant and placed it in the tray. Please treat it with care. It's very ancient. The security chief picked up the wooden pendant, scrutinizing it with clear disdain. This is your treasured artifact? A piece of carved wood? It's a symbol of my office, Eleanor responded evenly, and from the most ancient traditions of my homeland. It resembles refuse, the security chief said, tossing it roughly into a containment unit. It will be returned to you upon your departure, if the king permits your departure. Eleanor's expression remained unchanged, but something perilous briefly flickered in her eyes. I understand. Well, shall we proceed to meet your king? I wouldn't want to keep him waiting. As she was escorted through the enormous ship, Eleanor meticulously noted every corridor, security checkpoint, and armed guard. The Morgarians made no attempt to conceal their disdain. Some even spat on the floor as she passed. Your first time aboard a Morgarian vessel? Asked Commander Jalorax, who had joined the escort. Yes, Eleanor replied, though I've studied your architecture extensively. This Dreadnought-class battlecruiser is an Alpha 7 model, isn't it? With the modified propulsion system from your Taurian conquest? Jalorax's 4 eyes blinked in astonishment. You are remarkably well informed for a human. I make it my business to be informed, Commander. Eleanor smiled, a thin, knowing expression. Knowledge is a form of power, after all. The only power that matters is military might, Jalorax replied stiffly. Is that what your king believes? Vex Maul speaks for all Morgarians. His word is our law. Eleanor nodded thoughtfully. Then I anticipate our conversation. They reached a massive set of doors carved from what appeared to be bone. Intricate patterns depicted scenes of conquest and subjugation, the Morgarian Empire's proud history displayed in gruesome detail. The king will see you now, announced the royal herald. Bow before entering and speak only when addressed. Eleanor straightened her shoulders. I'm afraid that won't be possible. Earth diplomats do not bow to foreign leaders. We stand as equals or not at all. The herald looked scandalized. The king will have you executed for such insubordination. Then there will be no negotiation, Eleanor replied calmly, and the consequences will be substantial. Before the herald could react, the massive doors swung open, revealing King Vex Maul's throne room, a cavernous chamber filled with the spoils of 100 conquered worlds. There, upon a throne of fused metals and alien bones, sat the ruler of the Morgarian Empire. Eleanor took a deep breath and stepped forward to meet her fate, unaware that the king had already ordered her execution, a decision he would soon regret more than any other in his long, bloody reign. King Vex was an imposing figure, even by Morgarian standards. Standing nearly 4 meters tall when erect, his battle-scarred exoskeleton shimmered under the throne room's harsh lights. 6 arms, 2 natural, 4 cybernetically enhanced rested on his throne's ornate arms. The crown upon his angular head was not merely decorative. It was a neural interface connecting him directly to every weapon system on the ship. So the humans send a gray-haired female to plead for mercy? Vex Maul's voice boomed across the chamber, the translation devices rendering his words comprehensible but not diminishing the contempt. How predictably feeble. Eleanor Petrov walked forward with measured steps, stopping at precisely the diplomatic distance recognized by Galactic protocol, close enough to show respect, far enough to demonstrate independence. King Vex Maul, I bring greetings from Earth and the United Federation. I am not here to beg, but to negotiate terms beneficial to both our species. A rumbling laugh echoed through the throne room, joined by the sycophantic chuckles of the court attendants. Negotiate? You misunderstand your position, human. Your outer colonies are already under our control. Your defenses are pathetic. Your technology is rudimentary. We do not negotiate with prey. Eleanor's expression remained neutral, almost placid. Yet here I am before the great king himself. I find it peculiar that such a powerful monarch would bother meeting with such insignificant prey. The laughter ceased abruptly. Vex Maul leaned forward, his primary eyes narrowing. You possess courage, I'll grant you that. Or perhaps it's merely ignorance. Neither, Your Majesty. It's experience. Eleanor clasped her hands behind her back. The Morgarian Empire has conquered many worlds, true, but you have never faced humans before. We have studied your kind extensively. Vex Maul dismissed her with a wave of one cybernetic arm. Soft, weak, divided. Your only strength is your ability to procreate like parasites. Then why waste resources conquering us? Surely a species as advanced as yours has more worthwhile targets. Vex's mouthparts clicked in irritation. Your world possesses resources we require. Your position in the galaxy is strategically valuable. And, most importantly, your extinction will serve as an example to other species who might consider defying us. Eleanor nodded thoughtfully. I see. Before we continue this intriguing conversation, I noticed my diplomatic pendant was confiscated. I would like it returned, please. It's a traditional requirement for formal negotiations from my homeland. You mean this trinket? Vex Maul held up the wooden pendant, which had somehow found its way to the king. Your security team was quite thorough in scanning it. Merely a piece of deceased plant matter. How sentimental of your species. It's a symbol, Your Majesty, from a very ancient story in my culture. Vex Maul rotated the pendant in his claws. What story would that be? The tale of Baba Yaga, a witch who resided in a house that walked on chicken legs. Those who threatened her seldom lived to tell about it. Eleanor's voice took on an almost storytelling quality. She was neither good nor evil, but she was certainly not someone to be trifled with. Charming, Vex Maul said, his voice saturated with sarcasm. Your species clings to such juvenile fantasies. There are no witches in space, diplomat. Only power and those too feeble to wield it. Perhaps, Eleanor conceded with a slight smile, though sometimes appearances can be deceptive. Vex Maul crushed the pendant in his powerful grip, wood fragments falling to the floor. Like the illusion that this is a genuine negotiation. I agreed to this meeting for one purpose only, human. To gaze into the eyes of Earth's representative before I command the destruction of your homeworld. A murmur swept through the court. Commander Jalorak stepped forward, her posture tense. Your Majesty, the human is here under the protection accords. To harm a diplomat would violate... Silence, Vex Maul roared. The accords apply to civilized species, not to vermin. Eleanor's gaze shifted slowly from the crushed pendant to Vex Maul's face. Something changed in her expression, a subtle alteration that sent an inexplicable chill through several court attendants. King Vex Maul, I strongly urge you to reconsider this course of action, she said, her voice now eerily calm. I came prepared to offer generous terms, including access to certain resources and technologies that would greatly benefit your empire. We will seize what we desire from the ashes of your world, Vex Maul declared. He raised one massive hand and made a cutting gesture. Immediately, 4 royal guards moved toward Eleanor, weapons raised. This is your final warning, Eleanor said, not even glancing at the approaching guards. Harm me, and there will be consequences beyond your comprehension. Vex Maul laughed. What consequences could possibly concern me? Your fleet is weeks away at best. Your weapons cannot penetrate our shields. Your allies fear us too much to intervene. Eleanor sighed, a sound of genuine disappointment. Not from them, from me. Enough of this charade. Guards, remove the human to the detention level. Prepare the execution chamber. I want to broadcast her death to Earth before we initiate the first strike. The guards surrounded Eleanor, one of them roughly grasping her arm. What transpired next occurred so rapidly that later, when reviewing the security footage, the Morgarian analysts would have to slow it down to comprehend the sequence of events. Eleanor moved, not with the clumsy slowness the Morgarians expected from humans, but with a fluid grace that seemed impossible for her age and build. One moment she was standing calmly, surrounded by guards. The next, one guard was on the floor, his neck at an unnatural angle, while another screamed as his arm hung uselessly at his side. What is this? Vex Maul roared, rising from his throne. Seize her! More guards rushed forward. Eleanor reached into her seemingly ordinary gray suit and pulled out nothing visible. Yet suddenly she was asterisk holding asterisk something, and 3 guards dropped to the floor, clutching at wounds that had appeared as if by magic. I warned you, Eleanor said, her voice no longer carrying that diplomatic politeness. It had taken on a raspy, ancient quality that seemed to bypass the translation devices and speak directly to the primitive fear centers of the Morgarian brain. I am not asterisk, just asterisk, a diplomat. For the first time in his brutal reign, King Vex felt the cold touch of genuine fear. This woman, this asterisk human asterisk, moved with impossible speed and struck with impossible strength. And her eyes now glowed with an inner light that no human eyes should possess. "What asterisk are asterisk you?" he demanded. Eleanor Petrov smiled, a terrible smile that promised pain and retribution. "I told you about Baba Yaga, didn't I? The witch from the old country. Some tales are based on truth, Your Majesty. Some legends walk among the stars." As alarm klaxons began to sound throughout the ship, Eleanor Petrov, or whatever she truly was, launched herself toward the Morgarian king, moving faster than any human had a right to move. And for the first time in his long, violent life, King Vex Maul knew what it felt like to be prey. Chaos erupted in the throne room. King Vex Maul activated his personal shield generator. As Eleanor Petrov advanced, the shimmering barrier flared to life between them, a technology that had stopped everything from plasma bolts to antimatter warheads. Eleanor didn't even slow down. She walked straight asterisk through asterisk, the shield as if it were nothing but a soap bubble, the energy field rippling and then collapsing around her. Alarms shrieked throughout the chamber. Royal guards poured in from every entrance, hundreds of the Empire's most elite warriors converging on a single human woman. "How unexpected," Eleanor remarked, glancing around at the assembled forces with something approaching amusement. "You actually appear frightened, Your Majesty. I thought Morgarians prided themselves on never displaying fear." "Whatever trick you are employing, it won't save you," Vex Maul snarled, backing away as his cybernetic arms reconfigured into weapons. "This ship contains 10,000 of my finest warriors. You are one human female." "Correction," Eleanor said, cracking her neck with a series of pops that echoed unnaturally in the vast chamber. "I asterisk appear asterisk to be human and female, but appearances, as I mentioned earlier, can be deceiving." She raised her hand, and the fragments of the wooden pendant on the floor began to vibrate. To the horror of the watching court, the splinters rose into the air, spinning faster and faster until they resembled a miniature cyclone of debris. "Fire!" Vex Maul commanded, and a barrage of energy weapons discharged simultaneously, filling the throne room with blinding light and deafening sound. When the energy dissipated, Eleanor stood untouched at the center of a perfect circle of destruction. The floor around her was scorched and melted, but she hadn't moved an inch. The wooden fragments still orbited her like tiny satellites. "Your Majesty," Commander Jalorax shouted above the chaos, "we must evacuate you immediately." "No," Vex roared. "I will not flee from a single intruder. Activate the royal battle armor." A section of the throne split open, revealing a massive exoskeleton designed specifically for the king's physiology. As Vex Maul backed into it, mechanical components whirred and clicked, encasing him in layers of the most advanced armor in the galaxy. Weapon systems powered up, targeting arrays locked onto Eleanor, and propulsion units lifted the now 10-meter mechanical monstrosity into the air. "Now, human witch, let us see what your magic can do against the pinnacle of Morgarian battle technology." Vex Maul's voice boomed through external speakers, his natural voice amplified to deafening levels. Eleanor sighed. "You really should have just returned my pendant and negotiated in good faith." With a flick of her wrist, the orbiting wooden fragments shot forward like bullets, each one striking a different junction point on Vex Maul's battle armor. Impossibly, they penetrated the supposedly impervious metal, burrowing deep into critical systems. Sparks flew as circuits shorted out. The massive machine stumbled, one arm going limp, then another. "Impossible!" Vex Maul gasped as his targeting systems failed. "What technology is this?" "Not technology," Eleanor replied, walking steadily forward as the battle armor struggled to remain upright. "Something much older, something your kind forgot long ago, if you ever knew it at all." The remaining guards formed a protective ring around their king, but they moved with visible reluctance now, their earlier confidence shattered by what they had witnessed. "Your Majesty," Commander Jalorax pleaded, "we must retreat to the secondary command center. This being is beyond our understanding." "No retreat!" Vex Maul bellowed, even as more systems failed in his armor. "No surrender! I am King Vex Maul, conqueror of 1,000 worlds." And I, Eleanor said as she approached the failing battle armor, am far older than you can imagine. I have watched empires rise and fall, I have seen species evolve and go extinct, and I have very little patience for bullies regardless of their technology. She reached out and placed one hand on the armor's massive leg. Metal screamed and twisted, folding in on itself like paper crushed in a giant's fist. The battle armor toppled, crashing to the floor with a thunderous impact that shook the entire throne room. Guards scattered as Eleanor approached the prone form of the once mighty king, now trapped in his own technological marvel. She knelt beside the helmet section and tapped it gently with one finger. The reinforced visor shattered, revealing Vex Maul's terrified face. "Now that I have your full attention," Eleanor said pleasantly, "shall we discuss those peace terms?" "What are you?" Vex Maul whispered, all pretense of strength abandoned. "As I said, I am a diplomat. But before that, long before that, I was something else. On Earth, they called me by many names. Baba Yaga was one of the kinder ones." Eleanor stood, brushing imaginary dust from her suit. "Here is what will happen now, King Vex Maul. You will order your forces to withdraw from all human colonies. You will sign a non-aggression pact with Earth and its allies, and you will agree to reparations for the damage you have caused." "And if I refuse?" Vex Maul asked, though there was no defiance left in his voice. Eleanor smiled, a cold expression that promised ancient and terrible consequences. "Then I will remind you and everyone watching why mothers once frightened their children with stories of me." Across the throne room, Commander Jalorax stepped forward, lowering her weapon. "Your Majesty, I believe it would be prudent to consider the diplomat's terms." "Traitor?" Vex spat. "No, Your Majesty, I am loyal to the Morgarian people, and I do not wish to see our civilization join the list of extinct species that underestimated humanity." Jalorax turned to Eleanor. "If I may ask, are there more like you among the humans?" Eleanor's expression softened slightly. "Humanity has many secrets, Commander. Some are like me, though we are rare. Others have different gifts. It would be unwise to test what defenses Earth might employ, if truly threatened." From his trap position, Vex Maul glared at his commander. "You would surrender based on the threats of a single being? Where is your warrior's pride?" "With respect, Your Majesty, pride means little to the dead. I have seen enough to know we face something beyond our understanding." Jalorax turned to face the court. "As second commander of the Imperial Fleet, I formally request an emergency session of the War Council to consider the human terms." A murmur of agreement ran through the assembled officials. None would meet their king's furious gaze. "Excellent," Eleanor said, clasping her hands together. "While you deliberate, I will need access to communication facilities to update my government on our progress. And I will require my quarters to be prepared. Nothing fancy, but I will need privacy." "You will be accommodated," Jalorax agreed quickly. "Escort the diplomat to the VIP quarters in the diplomatic wing. Ensure she has everything she requires." "This isn't over," Vex Maul hissed as Eleanor turned to leave. No human can challenge the might of the Morgarian Empire and survive. Eleanor paused and looked back over her shoulder. "You still don't understand, do you? I never claimed to be merely human. That was your assumption." As she walked away, escorted by now deferential guards, even the wooden fragments that had been her pendant rose from the various places they had landed, and followed her like obedient pets, rebuilding themselves piece by piece until the pendant was whole again, floating gently behind her like a loyal familiar. And throughout the mighty flagship of the Morgarian fleet, the word began to spread in frightened whispers. Beware the human diplomat. She is not what she seems. 3 days later, Eleanor Petrov stood in the Eternal Dominion in his observation lounge, watching as Morgarian vessels disengaged from the human colony worlds and began their retreat. Behind her, Commander Jalorax entered with a data tablet in hand. "The final withdrawal orders have been transmitted, Diplomat Petrov," Jalorax announced, her voice carefully neutral. "All Morgarian forces will be beyond human territory within 48 hours. "Excellent," Eleanor replied without turning. "And the non-aggression pact?" Signed by the War Council and transmitted to your government. King Vex Maul's opposition has been noted but overruled. Now, Eleanor turned, one eyebrow raised. How unprecedented. The king overruled by his own council? Jalorax's four eyes blinked in rapid succession, a sign of discomfort among her species. These are unprecedented times. The demonstration of your abilities has caused significant reconsideration of our military doctrine. Really? How fascinating. Eleanor leaned against the viewport, studying the Morgarian commander with open curiosity. And what conclusions has your military reached? That we were misinformed about humanity's capabilities. Jalorax hesitated, then added, There are those among us who believe your species has been deliberately concealing your true nature, allowing yourselves to appear weaker than you are. Eleanor smiled enigmatically. An interesting theory, though perhaps the truth is simply that you never bothered to look beyond the surface. Perhaps. Jalorax set down the tablet on a nearby table. May I speak frankly, Diplomat Petrov? By all means. What you did in the throne room was impossible by any scientific standard we understand. You walked through an energy shield designed to stop antimatter. You controlled matter with gestures. You penetrated our most advanced armor with fragments of wood. Jalorax's voice took on an almost pleading quality. How is this possible? Eleanor toyed with the wooden pendant, now restored and hanging around her neck. Commander, have you ever wondered why, in a galaxy teeming with life, so few species have achieved spaceflight? We assumed most species destroy themselves before reaching that level of advancement. A convenient explanation. But what if there's another reason? What if there are forces at work in the universe that most technological civilizations never recognize or harness? Forces that human myths and legends hint at, but modern science dismisses. Jalorax's scales rippled, the Morgarian equivalent of a shudder. You speak of magic, superstition. I speak of realities your civilization has forgotten how to perceive. Eleanor moved away from the viewport, circling the commander slowly. Humanity is young among the stars, yes. Our technology is primitive compared to yours. But some of us remember the old ways. Some of us maintain connections to aspects of reality your sensors cannot detect, and your weapons cannot affect. Is that why you were sent? To demonstrate these abilities? Eleanor laughed, a sound both musical and somehow ancient. Oh no, Commander, I was sent because I am genuinely an excellent diplomat. My record of successful negotiations is quite real. I prefer words to action, treaties to confrontations. Then why reveal yourself? You could have maintained the deception. Because your king left me no choice. He threatened not just me, but my entire species. And there are lines one does not cross with beings like me. Eleanor's eyes hardened momentarily. Consider it a courtesy, a warning to your people. There are forces in this universe that your technology cannot master, aspects of reality your science does not comprehend. Humanity walks between worlds, Commander. We always have. A nervous laugh escaped Jalorax. You make your entire species sound like something from a horror tale. Most humans are exactly what they appear to be, clever, adaptable, but ordinary biological beings. But scattered among us are others. Those who remember older traditions, those who maintain connections to what your people would call impossible. Eleanor smiled. We have learned it's sometimes useful to be underestimated. Before Jalorax could respond, her communication device chimed. She checked it and stiffened. It appears your transport is ready, Diplomat Petrov. The captain is prepared to return you to Earth. Excellent, though I must make one final stop first. A stop? The detention level. I believe there are human prisoners from the colonies you attacked. They will be returning with me. Jalorax hesitated only briefly. Of course, I will arrange it immediately. An hour later, Eleanor stood in the shuttle bay, surrounded by 23 bewildered human colonists who had been prisoners just minutes before. The Morgarian guards kept a respectful, almost fearful distance. King Vex Maul, his pride wounded but his survival instinct finally engaged, had chosen to make a final appearance. He approached Eleanor with a formal delegation, his massive form still imposing despite the absence of his battle armor. Diplomat Petrov, he said, his voice carefully controlled. The Morgarian Empire acknowledges the peace terms and withdraws its forces from human territory. But know this. We will be watching, we will be learning, and we will not be caught unprepared again. Eleanor nodded politely. As you wish, Your Majesty, though I hope instead you might learn something more valuable, that cooperation often yields greater benefits than conquest. It's a philosophy for the weak, Vex Maul growled. No, a philosophy for the wise. Eleanor reached up and removed her pendant, holding it out to the king. A parting gift, Your Majesty, a reminder of our encounter. Vex Maul recoiled slightly. You expect me to accept that thing? It's just wood now. The power was never in the object itself, but in what it represented. She placed it on a nearby console. Keep it or destroy it as you wish, but remember what happened here. As Eleanor led the freed colonists toward the waiting transport, Commander Jalorak stepped close one final time. Before you leave, Diplomat Petrov, I must ask, the stories you mentioned, Baba Yaga, are they true? Eleanor paused at the threshold of the transport. All stories contain truth, Commander. The question is whether you have the wisdom to find it. And if we were to encounter Earth again, would we face more like you? Eleanor's smile was both serene and deeply unsettling. Pray you never have to find out. As the transport pulled away from the Morgarian flagship, Eleanor settled into her seat among the grateful colonists. One of them, a young woman, leaned forward nervously. Miss Petrov, is it true what they're saying? That you single-handedly faced down King Vex Maul and his entire court? Diplomatic negotiations are often dramatic, Eleanor replied with a casual wave of her hand. The important thing is that we achieved a peaceful resolution. But how did you convince them? To release us? To sign a peace treaty? The Morgarians never negotiate. Eleanor's eyes twinkled with ancient mischief. Let's just say I gave them a small demonstration of why humans have survived for so long despite all the forces arrayed against us. As the transport accelerated away from the Morgarian fleet, Eleanor gazed out at the stars. Humanity's journey among them was just beginning, but her own journey had started long ago in the dark forests of a distant homeland. The universe was vast and full of